I have an axe on the front seat of my car now, which is funny.
Like a killer.
This is To Wit, a podcast for women in tech doing life. I'm Christy Guzman.
And I'm Melinda Smith, once again on location, but this time in Richmond, Virginia. Woo!
Ooh, the Melinda tour.
Yes.
How's it going?
Good. It's a on-site requirements gathering, so it's long days and getting to know the client and, hoping everything goes well and everything fits within the SOW. But my team is awesome, so yay. How are you?
I'm good.
And some news you want to share?
I got a job.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, man, I got a job. So it happened pretty quickly just from a relationships perspective. I had lunch with my old Salesforce AE, so he won't listen probably, but shout out to Ryan May.
Never know.
And he had just talked to someone I'd known from the user group, and he was hiring, and so he connected us, and I had an interview and got an offer the same day, and he's going out for a shoulder surgery, so I ended up starting today. And then, just was in a 6-hour meeting of reviewing user stories today for a new project. So
it's not intense.
It was an interesting... Yeah, it was... Well, and it's nice. I mean, I didn't have to know anything they were talking about, right? But it was good just to start to get an idea of the players and the factors of this project. They've got a lot of legacy systems, so considering bringing in different identity provider and just all these just new fun things to do. So, so it'll be interesting. And then I've got some documentation to read and new credentials to poke around in a new org. So that's always
Let me
fun.
get my hands on your org.
Right?
Totally.
I know. What are you doing? Yes. They have person accounts turned on, so that's already gonna, so yeah, fun. So it'll be good. I just started today, but then I have 2 days off and then the weekend. So then I officially really start.
That's the best. Nothing sucks more than starting a new job and they want you to do an entire week. I don't know what it is. It's different now with Salesforce because I'm excited about it. But in the past, it was oh my God, I can't give you 8 hours. I don't have direction. I don't know what my role is. I'm looking forward to lunch. It's just, I'm glad you got 1 day and then a break and you'll come back.
Yeah, it was good it was funny. He was oh, you should come for this meeting. So you should start today. And then when I was kind of I kind of had some plans for the rest of the week of my last week of freedom, which sounds silly, but then, not I haven't, been unemployed and had plenty of time to do things, but then of course that's the least fun time to do things. So he's well, just come today and then you can take those 2, unpaid days, and he's going out for shoulder surgery. So I was kind of okay, sure. I'll be there. I can just learn stuff and find different people to start to learn the different systems. And I'm not shy, right? I just walk up and introduce myself to people today. I'm how do I print stuff?
Yeah. Hi, I'm the new admin of your org. I'm going to take away all your credentials. Thanks.
Hi.
How you had full cred? Not anymore.
No, well, it's interesting. It'll be really interesting. This is a larger company, so they already have user stories and fun to I think they're trying to get more type of structure like that, which is a great time to start with them because I can learn, right alongside the rest of them. So different scenario documents that show which systems are impacted and all kinds of tree killing documentation to start my day. So yeah.
Just recycle.
Hooray. I have a job. Yay. It'll be great.
So we would typically, yes.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's funny because I think one of the hardest adjustments with new jobs is just the new, they use Outlook and they use Office things instead of Google things, and they've got a SharePoint site and they've got ADP instead of Paychecks, and they've got, it's just feeling that.
Which bathroom stall do I use?
How do I? Oh, and one of the first things someone told me was, on the first floor, the women's bathroom is on the right, but on every other floor, it's on the left.
That's awesome.
So they were like, at some point, you're going to walk into the wrong one, and it's okay.
I have a stupid side bathroom story. When I worked for Maui Wowie, not that anybody would ever listen to this, but so we had most of one floor. I think that's a situation. And my two colleagues were always like just pranking each other. So they go into the bathroom, and we know when you're in a stall in a dude's bathroom, it's not just peeing. So he is like, oh, right. There's Chad's feet. So he comes out of the stall, gets like a ton of paper towel and wads it up wet and dumps it over the side and runs out. Ha ha ha, he thinks it's so funny. He dumped all this wet paper towel on somebody while they're taking a poo-poo. Then he gets to the office, and Chad's in the office. So he misread the feet and just threw it on some dude. Like some random, we don't even know who, at this juncture, he just threw wet paper towel on some poor unsuspecting man, just pooping like all by himself. It's terrible.
What a day that guy had. He's like, and then I was sitting there.
It's so terrible. And I can't stop laughing because the look on Justin's face was like, what? Wait. Why are you in here? And Chet was like, I don't understand the question. I work here. But yeah, I just saw your Adidas in, oh no. It was pretty awesome.
You can't assume things, you know.
Well, of course. So typically, as of 4 episodes ago, this is where we're going to talk about what we learned. But you're starting a new role, so you're learning all kinds. And I kind of roll that in with our conversation with our guest. So I might just jump over it because we tried to keep it on a tight timeline. And of course we didn't. Yeah. I'm like, we'll keep her to 30 minutes. And I think we ended it like an hour. So our guest is Gemma Emmet, formerly Gemma Blizzard. She is 13 times certified. Ridiculous. She is on the CTA journey without riding a lick of Apex. Born in Germany, lives in the UK, breast cancer survivor, which we'll talk later about. Please hang on if this runs over an hour. It's a really amazing interview. Military baby. She is fun to listen to. And then for people like, Barry that might be listening, we get to talk a little bit about Lost in Translation, which is always fun because some things are super different in English, American English, than the British English.
Oh, God.
I know.
And prepare yourself for some accents.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself for some fake accents, people.
And without further ado, Gemma Emmett. Gemma! Welcome to the show! Okie dokie. It already happened.
Hello. Oopsie. So you're the __C, right?
Who's that?
You're both looking at me like a crazy person. What's your Twitter handle?
__E.
Sorry. You're an external object. I'm sorry.
Events.
I apologize. How dare I assume it was a C? I apologize.
I was like, did I miss the memo? What happened?
Man, you guys were looking at me like you've never heard of __C before either. Like you didn't know what that meant.
I'm new to Salesforce.
You're a custom field.
I'm a platform event.
Oh, we're just going to throw that out. You're a platform event. How dare you? How dare you?
I'll trigger you.
I'm not a trigger. I'm a class.
Went off the rails. It's like 20 seconds in.
So we've already established that Gemma knows a lot more than me and or different things than me because she already corrected me like twice.
Sorry.
Hello.
Miss Gemma. So I introduced you a little bit, just a high level of your bio, but if you would like to give the listeners kind of how how you started in Salesforce? I mean, I talked a little about your 13 certificates, and you are going to talk more, especially in your blog, about your CTA journey. But like, how did you get here? Are you an accidental admin?
I started
Is
off
this what you always wanted
working
to
with
do?
data, and when I went to university in Northampton in the UK, roughly around the midsection. I studied business and information systems. And then when I came out of university, I was like, okay, so I've done project management, I've done systems development lifecycle, I've done database concepts. How the hell am I going to use that? And I got myself a little job working for my local fire department. Basically,
Were you single at that time? Okay.
I was,
sexy.
but unfortunately, the firemen weren't that hot. They
Maybe
did.
that's an American thing.
Maybe I did hear about this calendar that was being made in Florida, and I was like, how do I get hold of this calendar? Because my mum would love it. But anyway, so I think it was about a year and a half or so. I kind of went through two or three different local jobs in the Midlands of England, just pulling data out of databases and presenting it and making it look nice in Excel. Oh my God, Excel. Then eventually a job opportunity came up with a rather famous American airline down at Heathrow Airport, and they wanted somebody to help them do sales ops data. So I went and did that for about 3 months as a temporary contract. And then I ended up at Dun & Bradstreet, and they said to me...
I've heard of them.
Yeah. I think lots of people. And they had 250 salespeople, and they said, we need a sales ops analyst to come in. And by the way, you're going to be pulling data from this system called Salesforce.com. Have you ever heard of it? And I said, no. And they said, well, it's all online. And I was like, oh, that's quite innovative. Cool, okay.
It's in the cloud.
Yeah. So, and after a while, I mean, I think I started fairly quickly. And within a few days, they ran the Dreamforce Europe event at the Barbican in London. And I went along to it, and they had a bunch of breakout sessions, and they said, come and learn about workflow rules and fields and reports and all of that. And I had never, ever even logged into Salesforce. Well, certainly not through the front door. I think in my first week, I had to do one data load, and I did that using the API. So that was my first experience. And it was, it was an interesting eye-opener. So that was the most I'd done. So when I got in there and sat down in one of the breakout sessions and started learning about workflow rules, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But, I'll probably learn more about it when I actually start to see and touch the technology. So if I kind of fast forward by about a year, I had been on the advanced administration course that was run by a lady called Amy Harbin, who's now like one of the VPs for the training. So she'd come over from America, and she'd moved into the UK with her husband at the time, and we were just talking about the different opportunities you could have, and it was a really, really good course. But a year later, I decided I was going to go for certification because I started to really, really enjoy it, and I was supporting 250 salespeople on the floor, so walking around, helping them with things as they broke, helping to set up and connect, troubleshoot their Outlook.
Helping them as they broke stuff.
Creating fields, troubleshooting workflows. And then the role kind of became a little bit more strategic because I kind of started to become more interested in the technology than loading data into it. And governance was a big issue there because D&B is a huge company. They had a center of excellence in the US. They had us in Marlow in England, and we were helping some of the other administrators in Italy and Canada and Benelux and Japan. And it kind of turned into a forum. We were kind of helping all of those guys to look after Salesforce, and we were also making sure that anything that they configured and built could be useful for other markets or didn't kind of regress on everyone else as well. So it became more of a role. I kind of got bored working system. But I knew that I really, really loved the technology. And bearing in mind, this was in 2008. So, this was before Classic came in as a UI. This had seriously old classic with grey buttons. And
that's what I like to tell people. Like, we've been through one of these UI shifts before. Like, it's gonna be okay.
Remember when everyone got upset because Facebook changed to the timeline? You know, everyone kicked off about that. A similar thing. Soon, I mean, even now, I just slightly going off a bit, but every time I log into Classic now, I feel a bit dirty. I much prefer Lightning, but anyway. So I got an opportunity with a consulting firm from that point because I decided to go sort of hunting around. I joined this brand relatively new website called LinkedIn. Started to fill out my online resume, CV as we call it here. And I had a couple of interviews for admin jobs, and the feedback was, you know, really good on the technology, maybe not there on the soft skills yet. And I was 24. So it was just...
Soft skills like what? What do they mean by that?
It was more like gravitas. So having the presence and the experience to kind of manage expectations. And I think one of the biggest interviews I went for, I mean, I really got grilled in this interview. The feedback was, I don't know if you're going to be impolite enough to kind of say no to people if they want a requirement and to challenge them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to push back as a consultant. We've had this conversation before. Like, you have to be kind of the hard nose.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. And I know that if my boss was listening right here, right now, he'd probably die laughing to think of me as some kind of meek and mild person, because not me. But,
shout out to Jason.
You know, yeah, and shout out to Andrew.
And Andrew, that's right.
But needless to say, I kind of went consulting, worked for myself for a couple of years, subcontracted, and then I started to join the big boys and do some enterprise level projects roughly about 5 years ago, and disappeared off to Financial Force, and now I'm here. I'm working with Bluewolf, and I'm absolutely loving it. So, woo, Bluewolf!
It's 2 against 1 here with these wolves.
We run in a pack. We'll just make you one of us. One of us.
So you've always been more on the like codey side or the like development level side?
No, actually coding, I couldn't think of anything I'm less interested in.
Oh,
frankly.
I think CTA and I think like not me. So therefore I think of the opposite of me.
I'm trying to dispel some superstitions here because yes, you need Platform Developer 1, but Platform Developer 1 just requires it requires understanding of what are coding best practices. But as a solution architect, my favorite part of that job is that I can just go and ask someone else to do that.
Right.
It's fine.
I like to tease that you don't architect a solution.
Yes.
But you don't necessarily have
It's very true. It's interesting though.
We do it
like to know like the whole point is to like know when and when you don't need code and when you need to ask someone to build something custom. But it is weird to be in that place where you make that decision like, I am all omnipotent. I say we need something custom here. Yeah, but you do it. So.
And the interesting thing as well is if you're working with an individual who's not quite with you on that solution, and you're having to kind of assert yourself a little and say, and there's people have said to me, "Oh, Gemma, you're the SA. It's your choice." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I need to have buy-in from the team." Because if my TA doesn't agree with me, if my TA is a little scared of changing the role hierarchy or the security model, I've kind of got to sell that to the TA.
So speaking of TA, SA, technical architect, developer speak, Christy and I talked about this recently, but I struggle with the disconnect between solution architect, admin, product, and developer, because I kind of feel like sometimes developers are like Dory. Like you can have a conversation, but they just forget unless you put it in writing. And unless you put things in writing and are like crazy particular, it is just like their job is not to solution or to use better judgment. Their job is to take requirements and move forward. And for me, that's been a huge struggle because I'm like all about brevity and here's a few bullet points, like go forth and make it great. And they're like, well, no, I need 47 attributes here. And I just want to pull my hair out. But that's like my goal is to be a better communicator. I mean, like, how do you deal with that? Because you've dealt in a lot of custom build. Like, what is your path to success for, working with people that are more, being more technical? And I'm just like, boom, 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 go. And no one wants to do that.
Your job is the go-between. So what we have to do is understand and listen and take on board exactly what the customer wants. But then we have to translate that into tech speak for the developers. And I mean, to your earlier point when you said I like brevity and bullets and things like that, and they need detail, I would just put that down to
get over it.
That's kind of life. That's kind of what we have to deal with in our yeah. I'm not telling you. Okay, still didn't stop.
Just do it, Melinda. Yeah, stop
but it is. I mean, I've worked with developers in all kinds of different roles. I've worked with a developer who's kind of a bit like a puppy. You throw the ball one way and off he goes. And then you'll phone him up half an hour or half a day later and say, so how was that piece of code that you were doing today? And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I got a call from another guy and he's asked me to do this piece of code. So I've been doing that. I'll look at it for you right now. So handling the different personalities is important. But if you're dealing with very meticulous and specific developers where there's quite a rigid hierarchy and a rigid structure around their work, your spec has to be watertight. Which means you have to think exactly. You basically have to describe everything.
Well, and it is tough because I feel like I sometimes am not totally figuring it out as I go, but I have a plan and then I'm like, oh, wait, but I can't connect these two objects via process builder the way I thought. So like, maybe I could go this way, right? But I feel like some of that you only figure out as you're in the process. So it's kind of tough to not be, do you feel like that's the advantage of, I guess I'm assuming that you're somewhat agile in these projects, right? That's the advantage of this kind of Scrum concept is we're circling back every day to make sure that you haven't done something totally stupid because I forgot to tell you one thing or because there was a decision to be made and I wasn't there to make it.
Well, that's the point of Agile, isn't it? To the idea is that if you need information or you need to bounce ideas around the team, then, it's perfectly okay to kind of, raise your hand and say, right, can I borrow you and you and you? Here's what I'm thinking. Do you think that this solution holds water? And in a waterfall environment, people are like, that's when you got your project manager going, well, why are you having these meetings? Or let me schedule a meeting with these two people. And you just kind of like, do you know what? I just want to do it. JFDI. Need that meeting. Just get on with it. So in that situation, I think Agile works really well, but everyone's got different superstitions and orthodoxies around Agile. They think Agile is a methodology. It's not. From what I've learned about Agile, to execute Agile well, it's about trusting each other, creating a highly collaborative environment, and just asking the question. Even if you need to put something out on Twitter and just go, look, guys, I've got this. Can someone just jump on the call with me for 5 minutes so we can just thrash this out? And you don't have to say which customer it is. You can anonymize it very easily and just give them the use case. And that's the beauty of having all these wonderful people around the world who you can just bounce ideas around with.
Well, in the community, we talk about it a lot too, that's the benefit too, is you can be like, yeah, absolutely. I totally have my hands all around this. And then you're like in 47 DM channels, like, I don't know what I'm talking about here. Somebody help me. What's the benefit here? Help me here. But I mean, on that note, we were saying earlier that you have taken the path to the CTA. So if you aren't writing code, you're not interested in writing code, that's not your bag, then like how have you gotten there I tweeted out earlier, I don't know, the other week about not having to write code to be a CTA. And there were like 3 or 4 people that were like, wait, what? I think Kelly Bentuba was like, wait, what? So how does that, because I would never even take that path because I've done a couple Apex classes and unless like that's my path and I'm going to be doing it every day, I can't, it's not going to be my bag.
Yeah. The reason that I've come to that conclusion has been centered around all the different certification exams. And I think it's mindset as well. There are people I've spoken to, and they've said, "What are your goals for the next year?" And I've said, "I'm going to go in front of the review board next year." And they've said, "Well, what's wow, that's pretty serious stuff." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying and everything. There's not that many certified technical architects in the world." But for me, it's not really about. Yes, it would be amazing to reach CTA. Next year is my 10th year of working with Salesforce. If I can get to the end of next year and be a certified technical architect and the third female one in the UK, that would be quite amazing. But for me, the journey is probably far more important than passing a review board, and trying to get past the Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, as we have it in the UK. Because all of the stuff that I've been learning, so I started off with the data architecture, architecture. I'm sorry, I have to read the bloody certificate now. Data architecture and management designer. That was the first one I was always planning to do, because I was like, well, I come from a data background. I like reporting. I think it would be a fun one to do. And the minute I passed that exam, fun, yeah, all about primary key chunking. Yay!
I don't even know what you said.
I love it so much. Anyway, you go with your bad bulk API. But I got that one passed, and I printed out the certificate, and I decided to put it on my wall. And I looked on my wall above my desk, and I thought, oh my goodness, I've only got 6 certs.
Only.
I need to do some more.
Because back in the day, there was not that many. I was thinking about this recently. Like, when I used to say, like, oh, I'm 3 times certified, like, that used to be a bigger deal. Now I'm, like, behind.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, now I have 5. I really have 4.5, because that 401 is going away.
It's going away.
But mine hasn't expired yet, so technically.
When I started in July at Bluewolf, I had 5. And that was at the time, because when I joined Financial Force, it wasn't a big deal to get certified, really. We weren't actively encouraged to get certified because the focus was on building a product and delivering that product. When I joined Bluewolf, and I noticed a couple of other people that I was working with went full steam ahead and got 2 certs within 3 weeks. I was like, oh my goodness, okay. Maybe now it's time to tackle a couple of those designer exams that I had my eye on. So my initial plan was just to do data architecture and then maybe sharing and visibility, because they were the 2 that I had the biggest strengths in. And I had a one-to-one with my boss, and he said, I really think that have you thought about where you want to go with your certifications? And I said, well, there's just like a couple of designer ones that I fancy doing. And he was like, I reckon with 10 years experience, you could probably do PV1, Platform Developer 1. And I said,
Thanks, but no.
No, do you know what? I'm not interested in that. I'm really not possible. Thanks, but no thanks. And he was like, well, we're trying to get raise the profile of the certified technical architect. We want people to become better architects as a result of doing that journey. And I said, well, that's pie in the sky as far as I'm concerned. There's no way I'm going to ever get CTA. So you can kind of banish that thought. Fast forward about 3 months, and I had some time to spare. So I spent, as soon as I passed data architecture, I got the bug, and I booked myself straight in for sharing and visibility the following week. And I passed that. And then I started looking at Platform Developer 1, and I thought, maybe I can do this. So I thought, yeah. And we went to Nashville, and where I met the lovely Melinda.
She's all right.
Had a fantastic.
I will come through the screen at you.
She's not bad. No, she's not bad. And it kind of went from there. It was, right, I'll give this PD1 thing a go. And then I'll give myself a break. I'll get to a certified application architect before Christmas. I'll be happy. And it kind of, I couldn't stop.
More certs.
It was like crack. So I was just like, okay, now I've reached application architect. What if I could reach system architect by Christmas? Because then I could really relax for Christmas.
Just hang out.
You're so cute. Yeah.
Just hang out, talk about community cloud and stuff. So I did integration architecture, did DevOps, and I started to think about the way that I'd structured my revision and how there wasn't a lot online at the time. There were some really, really good Quizlets. There were some really, really good blogs. Salesforce Memo is an absolute godsend. It helped me revise. Oh, it's awesome. It's written by a guy called Mache. And I think it was after that I just kind of thought, well, we need to share a little bit more stuff out. So I started writing blogs that summarized my revision.
Oh, did you? Where are those?
And then sharing.
I suspect they're at alwaysableazard.com, but I don't know what a Bleazard is. Blizzard.
It's a fancy blizzard.
Blizzard. Blizzard. Oh. It's my maiden name. So I appreciate it's a strange name. It might get I don't know. But the reason I started the blog was it was going to be a combination of lots of different things. It wasn't going to be just Salesforce. It wasn't just going to be other life experiences. I was actually going to blog about genealogy as well, because that's an interest of mine. And my maiden name was Blizzard, which is quite an unusual surname. And that's just kind of where it started, because it was kind of a recognition of, no matter how many men I marry.
I do like that it says whatever next, which I have to, for some reason, really hard prevent myself from trying to say in a fake accent.
Whatever next? Is that good? Is they say that? Whatever.
Whatever.
Okay.
Oh, what's a bruv? God, I'm already bad at this.
How do you spell it?
Oh, it's London slang. It's like like brother.
Is that like
BRUV, bruv?
Ah, dude. All right. Yeah.
Kind of. That's the American equivalent. What's up, dude?
Whatever, bruv.
So it kind of went from there, and then I realized throughout doing all these certifications that there was very little in there about coding, a lot about protocols, a lot about technical ways of running queries and sharing and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I think I can actually do this.
Yes. And then, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, aside from...
A woman in tech, a cancer survivor, a wife, a mother, whatever next.
Yeah. Yes, all of these things. What do you... Like, ideally, if the magic career fairy were to just float down right now, what would you do?
I would still be here doing this, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm now in the job that I've wanted to do for a long time, recognized as an experienced resource, working with a technology that I love, trusted to know what I'm doing. And I'm secure. I feel quite secure that this is the job I want. In previous life, I didn't feel so secure. I was kind of shoved into a project management job, which I didn't want to do, really. But at the same time, informally doing a solution architect job without being given a formal role of solution architect. So it was just I just didn't know where I fit. Whereas here I do. I feel like now I'm actually in a formal solution architect role. I know what I'm going to be doing. And I know that even if, in 20, 30 years time, Salesforce isn't number one technology, the skills we've all had, all developed through working with Salesforce. To be honest, I don't think that will happen, because they're always ahead of the game. But, I feel confident that I could still take this career to a number of different technologies. It's just that I choose not to. I choose to stay with Salesforce because I love the community and I love the technology, and I kind of drank the Kool-Aid years ago.
So, in looking at your blog, is this background picture of notes, is that your actual handwriting? Do you take notes physically? I fucking love you.
It is.
I feel like so many people try and get me to Evernote and like all these things, but I want a spiral notebook and I want to take physical notes. even if I translate them into something else, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like my generation or something. I don't know, but I just I don't like Evernote. I feel like I just lose everything. Not that I pay attention to everything in the notebook either, but just handwriting things. I feel, and I mean, you have nice handwriting, by the way.
I remember more when I write it down than when I type it, because you can type absentmindedly.
Yes.
This is exactly it. So when I'm studying, I take 3 or 4 days before my exams, because I do take them seriously. I have failed exams before, and it pisses me off. So I will take the guides and I will write my own notes, and then those notes sometimes end up summarized in the blog, and then I put more stuff around them. But I do learn from writing old school style.
It matters.
Revision. So I do. It does, because it goes straight in. I even wrote down notes for this.
Oh, did you? Have we hit the high points? What else you got?
I don't know, but I also doodle when I'm on the phone. So I actually have a really, really good colouring book that I use for that.
Dear listeners, I know you can't see, but she is finding her memos to shitty people coloring book. That's awesome.
Oh, now I want that. Somebody showed me another coloring book that was really nicely cussy, and now I want that one. So now I just...
This one says, "Goddamn motherfucking son of a bitch," and it's covered in flowers and pandas
so
and foxes.
Even though we had a lot of swear words.
You know, there's such a niche. If the Salesforce design guys, I was going to say, if the Salesforce design guys were listening to this, they could produce a square colouring book featuring Astro
dancing through the forest. Motherfuckers! Somehow I sense that's a hard pass.
Salesforce was like, we're not going to associate.
Just going to come out.
So I think before we started recording, or before I will actually keep this in, we talked a little bit about Lost in Translation. So we talked on a few podcasts ago about the difference in the, what is it? Chrissy, I'm just forgetting the word. Growler. Yes. So Growler. So I almost crashed my car the other day because there's a Growler USA bar near my house, and I had to take a picture to send to Barry. And I am just curious, because you've spent time over here, another Bluewolfer. What other things that you can't help but giggle at us at? Because we don't know what we don't know.
I don't know. I've got a kind of a reverse one. It's like when British people say, "I'm just nipping out for a fag."
Oh, yes. That one I actually know.
Yeah, Americans just kind of look at us with their eyes sideways like, what did she just say?
Should I get mad at her?
Well, the other one, I feel like a fanny pack is not,
Oh, that's great.
What is that? Gemma, what is it?
A fanny in America generally means an arse.
Well, a fanny pack is sort of like a little purse thing that you wear around your waist.
Yeah, we call it
a Oh, then why?
But fanny does not mean that. It
means something extremely different here.
I sense it's a sexual thing that she doesn't really just want to mention, maybe.
It is your Muller corner.
My what?
Let's go Google.
Oh my God.
My middle corner?
Translation. So Muller corner is a British yogurt that you can buy. And you get it's shaped like a triangle, and you get
wait, how do you have yogurt in the shape of a triangle? Oh, the container.
How does it mean fanny? That's not what you meant either.
Yeah, your fanny is your lady garden, your bit.
But then you went with this other word, and I tried to Google it, and it didn't go well.
I'm dying right now.
I've never thought about that shape before. But let's just. What else is on your list of things you wanted to talk about? Somebody that's
okay. Before we ask you the ultimate question of your biggest screw up in Salesforce.
No, she had a list.
Oh, me?
Not you. Oh. I mean, you probably have a list because you're an adult, but she had a list of things to talk about, right? Didn't you just say that? You want to?
Yeah.
You had topics. You had notes. Yeah. What?
I misunderstood. I thought we were talking about me. I always think that though.
Oh. Usually that's the case. But
yes,
I've got one.
So I was going to segue into that. So, you are. Let's see. When I met you in Nashville, you were a year cancer free. Yes. What was the celebration? Because we had drinks and we toasted to your boobies.
No.
Was it?
Oh yes, we did.
Was it 1 year or was it 2 years that you
as
were
one does?
Great.
No, it's actually 3. It's actually 3. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was really 29 years old.
Your shirt off. Sorry, I know no one can see you,
on
but
Halloween.
you don't have to at all. But you just were gesturing with your collar, like you were fidgeting with it, and I was like, she's just gonna go there. Like, yes.
Save the boobies.
Sorry, this is like really deep.
Yeah. No.
Yay!
And I might add, they are all mine.
29. Continue.
They are all mine. So, no. Yeah. So this was so awkward. There was so much shit going on at the same time. So I had just accepted a role at Financial Force, and I was just working my notice, and I was just about to get married, and I stepped out the bath one morning and noticed a bit of a lump, and I was like, "What on earth's that?" But because my wedding was imminent, like 4 days later, I was like, I just can't be dealing with that right now. I'm too stressed. No, we'll deal with that later. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's nothing. I got diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3, 5 centimeters across my left boob, and it was shaped like a sausage. And got diagnosed with that on Halloween, and they had me in for chemotherapy within a week of being diagnosed because it was going postal. So I was very grateful to. I have to say, unfortunately, I didn't use the British NHS. It would have been the 3-week wait to see a doctor.
So wait, so that means you didn't use the free healthcare, you chose to pay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was a difference between 3 weeks and stage 4. And I had it provided by work. So I was like, if it's free or if you've already got it through work, then use it,
Yeah, for sure.
So I was in seeing the breast doctor within like 3 days.
And I'm sorry, this is like what? How long after you got married? Did you just mention that?
About 2 weeks.
Sure. Okay, great.
Nothing like breast cancer diagnosis to,
Honeymoon.
Well, there you go. I decided to go hardcore. I couldn't honeymoon without getting severely high on toxic chemicals. So that's fine. So I think I was in for chemo early November, and they hit me with this horrible, nasty stuff. And then I had another round of that. And in the end, I had chemo for 6 months, something stupid like that. And then because they decided that they wanted to shrink it first. Because at the time when they told me, just take all of it. And the doctor was like, no, you're 29. You're going to have to live with one boob like for a lot longer than your average breast cancer patient. So I was like, fine. Okay, well, and he said, so what are you doing this week? And I said, whatever you tell me.
Yeah, clearly, whatever you ask of me.
I've got a nail appointment and a massage scheduled.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't come for chemo. My cleaner's coming that morning.
What are you doing this week? My goodness.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's just British politeness, isn't it? So, beautiful thing. So, yeah, I had, and then by the time, but the most amazing thing was after hitting me hard with lots of chemotherapy, because the oncologist was just like, I said to him, are you hitting me hard with this? He goes, yeah, because I can, because you're young.
Because you're young, yeah.
And I was working out a lot, so my body was a lot stronger. And they hit me with it as hard as they could, to the extent that by the time it came to Christmas and I went for my first scan, they couldn't see the edges of the tumor anymore. Wow. It had gone from being angry, pissed off, cancerous being to, I think I'm not quite sure if I like it here or not. So they had to put a clip in the middle of it in case they lost it.
Damn.
What? Sure enough, when it got to May, they couldn't see it on the scan anymore. It had gone. And they basically just, all they had to do was a small operation to take the clip out and then a margin of tissue around it. And then they zapped it with some radiation, put me on hormone pills, and we're off we go. I get signed off in 18 months' time.
That was a fun adventure. Who doesn't want hormone pills? And
Yeah. How sick were you with the chemotherapy? Like I had a friend and my stepfather that went through it, and you're just so fucking sick. Like, how did you deal for 6 months? Like, especially because you said they hit you so hard.
Yeah, they give you a shitload of antiemetics. So you can't, their priority is to make it as easy for you. They don't just treat the cancer, they treat the whole patient. So they loaded me up with anti-sickness drugs. I did get really sick after my second chemo. I was in hospital for about 4 or 5 days. And I remember it was around the time that Nelson Mandela died. So I was watching all of that on the news, and they hit me, like, my dad drove me down to the hospital where my nurse was, and they just hooked me up to a drip for like 4 days, pushed some fluids through, gave me some anti-sickness drugs, and I just sat and consumed Netflix. I was even naughty and VPN to US Netflix so that I could get better movies.
It's like the supreme binge watch.
Oh my God, I watched a movie with Michael Fassbender in it called Shame. It's a very strange film. Worth it.
Worth it.
I just started watching a show called You're the Worst from FX.
Yeah. Season 1 and 2 are great. Just be prepared for 3 and 4. Shit gets moody and you can't stop.
He's got an accent though, and he's English.
What kind of accent is it? Are you talking Winterfell? Because my husband's got a Winterfell.
Ah!
Gemma, you act like we know. Like you're either British or Irish or like
it's a not American
like,
accent.
Dummies.
That's what it is. Supposedly he's from Manchester, I think, but
oh yeah, so he talks like this. You're right, love. How you doing?
Yeah,
close enough.
Yeah, that's to the side at Pennines. So
what she said.
What she said. Nah.
That was
You might be our first guest with an accent.
I don't have an accent. I'm a military brat.
So where did you grow up?
I just have an English accent. I was born in Germany. I've moved every 2 years since I was born. And I've got accents from the south, the north, Scotland, Lincolnshire, various counties, London. I went to school in London for 5 years. So my husband thought it was hilarious when he first met me because he was like, I have no idea where you're from because you've got a little bit.
It's a little mystery in a relationship.
A little potpourri.
Yeah.
So
keeps you guessing.
I have a nosy question because you mentioned like you'll always be a Blizzard. I forget already how to pronounce it. So is this husband number 2?
Yeah.
He is the best. Let me just tell you the story about how I already love Chris. So picture the gif. Bill Hader, he's wearing like the gray tank top and he's doing the like arms out, almost like the riding a horse gif. So I don't even know. Gemma and I are talking in Nashville about this silly gif. So she sends it to her husband. She's having kind of a rotten day. And he sends back a boomerang video of him replicating the gif. This is how I meet Chris. This is how I love Chris now. He replicates, just to a T, the same Bill Hader gif. And now I'm like, I love him. I love him for you.
I actually found it right now.
And I'm sorry, is this a Salesforce relationship?
You guys know Salesforce. Is it?
It is. I met Chris at work. And he'd never done Salesforce before, and it became quite clear through teaching him Salesforce that he was very interested in it and a very, very, very competent and very quick learner.
So sexy, competent,
so sexy.
I'll put that on my Bumble profile when I make one. I'm competent. Sorry, continue.
Well, yeah. So competence is incredibly important, I would say.
Okay.
So I started to kind of take him to events. So I took him to World Tour and started to involve him a lot in Trailhead and some of the other, just try and get him acquainted with the community that goes with Salesforce. How it's not just an IT system, you know. And I was introducing him to people and his interest grew. And for about, I think, 8 months after that, he just hit Trailhead massively hard. And he has now got 18 badges.
Wow.
Aww.
And
you're a ranger couple?
Yes, we are. We met at World Tour. We, in between collecting swag from everywhere, we met this lady called Pip Morfitt, who's one of the senior content marketers at Salesforce, and we were just chatting to her, and we were so pathetic. We were like that couple at the cash register who just kind of involve the clerk in everything that we say. We were so pathetic, and we were going, oh yeah, we really love Salesforce, and he does Salesforce and I do Salesforce, and I've got certs and he's got badges and all this kind of stuff. And she was like, do you mind if like we feature you in our blog? And I was like, okay.
No, I don't mind.
So 6 months later, well, no, less than that, actually, a couple of months later, that was my first experience with Quip, because we used Quip to collaborate and build the blog post together.
Okay.
It was awesome. And we got published on the Salesforce blog. And I said to him, we can't ever split up now.
So, we are bound by Salesforce.
Well, we are now, because then he got a job in Cambridge. If you've never heard of Cambridge, shame on you.
I don't know where it is, but I've heard of it.
Isn't that where the Duchess lives?
Posh. No, she's just called the Duchess of Cambridge.
Oh, she doesn't actually live there? That's some bullshit.
Well, they did live in Cambridge because Prince William was working for the air ambulance. So I was like, oh my God, I might actually deliberately crash my car just so he can rescue me. But
listen, we have enough trouble with European geography. Don't fuck with us by saying you live somewhere that you don't live. I don't call myself the Duchess of South Carolina. It's rude.
Fucking Duchess. Well, no, because you're sending us a new Duchess.
Oh, yeah, right? Okay, wait. Is that what she... No, she's a princess. Is that what you're...
No, she will be a Duchess. She won't be a princess.
What?
It's only heirs who are... Because technically, Kate Middleton is a princess.
But why?
Because she's married...
Because her husband's the oldest son, right?
Well, yeah, but that law's kind of been passed now. It's the oldest child now, not the oldest son. But her job is a princess. She's a princess. But her title is the Duchess of Cambridge. And then when the Queen snuffs it and Prince Charles takes over, Prince William will be... he'll be Prince of Wales and she'll be Princess of Wales.
But then the children of... Listen, how much do you give a shit about this? And how much do Americans give a shit about this? Because I'm really interested, because I know that it's different because she's mixed race and she's Catholic and, like, I get it. And this is me, like, 100% not being into this crap in America. Like, I don't watch TMZ. I don't care about this. But, like, I feel like Americans are so interested in European...
monarchies? Yeah.
Thank you. And I just don't... Do you care? Like 100% or no?
I'm not a representative sample of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. However,
you are today.
Oh, you are the ambassador today, Gemma.
I quite like it. I'm very proud of our history. I come from a military family, and my boarding school had royal patronage and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like the royals. I think they're an important part of our country, but there are lots of other people who are getting really pissed off going, oh great, taxpayers' money's going to pay for their fucking wedding then.
Here's the real question though. How many big ass hats do you own? Because in my opinion, all fancy events involve big hats.
I have no hats. I have 4 wigs.
Oh, you have 4 wigs? Well, you have to. Right.
Wait, because of chemo or because of like fun Halloween costumes?
No, because of chemo, but I used to use it to throw people off the scent. So like I went to a Christmas do.
Because everything is 007 in the UK.
Yeah. So during the day, I went into the office with my short bob wig. Okay. So my hair was like here, and no one knew I had cancer. So then that night, I put the long wig on.
You look so familiar.
My hair had just miraculously grown. So some of the men just did not notice it because they don't notice things like that. But the women, you could see them kind of like, hang on a minute, wasn't your hair short today?
Did you get extensions when I just went and changed my outfit?
Yeah, but then the next day I went back in with short hair.
Well, to be fair, when I originally looked you up on LinkedIn for this episode, I looked at the wrong Gemma in London. So there's someone else that's got great hair that's a Gemma.
There are lots of Gemmas. Gemma is like a 1980s name in the UK. It's like Sharon or Tracy. Sharon Tracy.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. You have been in the Salesforce world for 10 years. So there is a lot, not saying you screw up a lot, but you have a bag to choose from. So when you say your biggest screw up, I want you to pick one that would make us laugh the most, or the one that has the most British things in it.
You did something.
British things in it. Like I'm from
the most British.
Yeah. Well, your Salesforce love affair has been quite interesting.
I don't really have one that's interesting, I'm afraid, ladies.
Get off the show. Forget it. Yeah.
It's the usual stuff, really. The stuff that you do once and never, ever again. Oh, no, hang on. I do have one. So as part of my job at Financial Force, we used to make accounting stuff just appear out of nowhere. And I think one of my biggest fuck-ups was loading 17,000 timesheets into the system without switching the workflow rules on that would calculate the costs.
Who needs that?
Who needs it? To make the code run again so it would recalculate, run my workflow rule, tick the boxes to run the workflow rule. I had to use the bulk API. It was just an absolute fucking mess.
You know, it's interesting because we can say all we want about Process Builder, right? And you activate, but like there are multiple times in my life that I created a workflow rule and did not activate that shit and went to test it. Or even I made a process and I literally I only made half of it. So I tested like half the scenario, but my sample was the other half of the scenario. And I was like, why isn't it working? And it's like, oh, because I'm an idiot. Like, but how many, like, but we get there eventually.
What was your key takeaway from that experience, Christy?
Assume that I did it wrong and not that the system is wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I did this and it's not, why is my checkbox not triggering my rule? My Salesforce doesn't work. Actually, this is an example I gave recently in my Admin 201 volunteer class that I'm doing. I talked about how sometimes you write a really great error message and then people screenshot it and send it to you and be like, why is this happening? And you copy the text of the message and send it to them not in red, angry text. And they read it and they're like, oh, okay, thanks. Like, I legit don't change anything, but just not reading it in the system in red, angry text. And they're like, oh, okay, great.
There have been many, many times when I've seen an email like that come in and I've just been, it's taken every ounce of my self-control not to write back because you're an absolute twat.
See, you do have self-control and you have, and sometimes you can be shy and reserved, right? I don't know who your boss is, but he should believe that.
Yeah, he had to get through like 50 minutes of girl talk. I don't know if he even made it this far.
Right now.
Run with us. Okay. Gemma, you've been a damn joy as usual.
It's been lovely to be a part of your pack momentarily.
Thank you for inviting me to take part in your twit. Your
Does that mean something else?
Yeah, that seems about right. Yep.
No. Well, no. A twit is basically just an idiot.
Okay, that translates.
Well, we'll release you to go to bed since it is, 10
No, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh my gosh, she's so amazing. I totally had not really talked to her before. I love meeting new people that I can talk to for an hour on accident. Like we try and keep it together and then we just end up getting off the rails because new friends are so wonderful. I love that I get to meet new people.
It's so true
on this show.
Because I'm out of town and I'm like, look, I'm doing this. You're doing this. We'll just do a couple high level, and then the next thing you know, we're laughing, and it's an hour into it.
Well, and I love that. I feel like she's just got a great, different way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
you know, even the idea of CTA, like it just makes me think of, I assumed that those were not things I could pursue. And yet there's great things I could learn and maybe become a solution architect, which I think as an admin, I don't think about as much as something that's possible.
Totally. I mean, when she said, which of course everyone knows by this point that we work together, her work for the same company. It's not like we work together a ton, but when she put out like, you know, I'm in the CTA journey without writing code, I was like, shut the fuck up. Whatever. That doesn't even make sense to me. And then I started this kind of internal solution architect and marketing architect group in Salesforce. At Bluewolf, but the chatter group at Salesforce. And there's just not a ton of us. Like there was only 4 solution architects. I actually opened it up for like marketing architects and community. And it's a big company, and maybe I'm only focused on my team or the bigger team for but there's not a lot of us. So we did virtual coffee. And when she was talking about this journey, I was like, oh, I'll just go ahead and let them talk amongst themselves. But yeah.
But wait.
Yeah.
You can do it too.
Yeah, but the thought of being in front of like a board, like an advisory board, that sounds so scurry.
Yeah. But there's steps along the way too, like smaller certifications and other things that are beyond the admin cert, right? That are still within your reach to expand your skill set.
Yeah, so
good on you, Trailhead team.
Yeah, right. And she's smart and she's nice.
Formerly Salesforce you.
She said I could stay with her and the family in May, so that's what I intend to do. I'm going to take her up on it. Like, why not? But what I can't decide now is to bring Olive or not, because Molly's the same age and it would be fun. And yes, it's a long flight, but then I wouldn't have to ask anyone to watch the kiddo. So I don't know. It might down to cost, because since she's a whole human, she takes a whole ticket.
Well, I think it also depends on the type of trip you want to have.
It does.
But now you can tell me about your super fave.
It's so silly, but it's amazing. I mean, amazing might be a little overstating it. Right before I left town, Josh and I watched Baby Driver, and I pulled up the soundtrack, and all this whole time in Richmond for work, I've had to walk everywhere. So I've been listening to the soundtrack, and it's a very eclectic soundtrack, and it has just, I don't know, it's been awesome. I don't get to listen to music as much when I work from home, or, you know, my trips are really short. So maybe I try and squeeze in an episode of a podcast I love, but I'm going to try and make more of an effort. But, you know, sometimes I can't listen to music while I'm building because
your brain
you can have it in the background. Yeah, for sure. But I'm really enjoying the soundtrack. I highly suggest anyone to download it or Spotify it. It's very eclectic and fun and groovy.
Did you like the movie too?
I did. I really liked it. It was very cool.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. And you, my friend?
My super fave right now is an artist called Osiris Rain. You can follow him on Instagram. So I went to a place called the Company Store for my friend's birthday this weekend, and it's just it's one of these like, it's called the Noda Company Store. It's basically like they have a bar and they have a store, and then they have like sundry foods you can buy, but they have a bunch of tables and just different like seating areas. So basically we went and sat at a picnic table and drank, and they did free tacos. And so this guy, I guess, goes there a lot, or he has relationships with people, and he was there like having a beer and getting his tacos, and they made a comment. I guess he's been supposed to paint this wall. And so he just had his stuff, and so I literally sat there with my friends and watched him paint this wall. So he painted like a base, and then he spray painted this beautiful woman on the wall. And then he came back, he got most of the way down and then came back and finished it the next day. So it was just really interesting that, I mean, it's lovely street art, but also just that like I literally sat there and I saw it like coming, you know, like, ooh, what's it going to be? You know, like, ooh, it's kind of face shapey. And then what I thought was going to be hair is not really hair. And like, it was just really interesting. So, and I mean, it was a great day with friends. It was a really nice fall day that was warm enough if you had sunlight on you. So we were just sitting outside and celebrating one of my good friends and watching art happen. So Osiris, Osiris, and then rain, like drops falling on your head.
Moisture from the sky.
Indeed. So there you go. There's my real life art adventure. It's going to be a good week, I think.
I think it's going to be an amazing week.
It's going to be a good rest of the year, even.
Let's do it.